stage. Here I am. All right, I'm back. It's raining outside, if you can't tell. Welcome to the show. Live stream. Hope everybody's doing well. All right. I wanted to talk on Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk seemed to be a very good man. It was abundantly clear his family loved him, that he was a family man. It was absolute tragedy to watch it happen. Had I known what I was clicking on, when I clicked on it, I wouldn't have clicked on it. I want to watch the video. When you watch videos like that, it becomes so much more real. You know, there's other assassinations that happen, and if they're not on video, then there's still tragedies, but they don't hit that level that we had recently because we've witnessed it. What's kind of funny is like that's literally almost the same exact result as Trump, that assassination attempt and him getting shot in the ear. I actually saw this really not funny, but conspiratorial video of a different angle of the Trump shooting. And after he got shot, the paparazzi camera guys are guiding, or there's like a guy guiding these paparazzi camera guys to go to the front of Trump after he got shot. And the flag behind Trump begins lowering as these guys are trying to take the picture. You almost do wonder if there was a little bit of a photo op in there or some sort of next level intelligence operation. It is a very weird situation. It probably isn't. I'm not going to suspect on that tonight. There's no reason to. It's not what's on top of the mind right now. It's Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's impact on the world is evident. You see Charlie Kirk. You see not the protests, but more so like the celebrations in the UK for his life and other countries. The ceremonies this weekend, and he made a tremendous difference. His videos went viral. He had 8 million followers on TikTok. Charlie Kirk was almost like the right-wing version of Martin Luther King. And that's kind of what this assassination was. It's very similar to the Martin Luther King assassination. Charlie Kirk would debate on college campuses with other college kids at such an important time too, because we're at a point right now where all universities and colleges are so far extreme, and there's this ideology in a lot of these universities that are super extreme. And we're going to get to the extremists a little bit later. But when Charlie Kirk had begun debating these kids on these college campuses, he did it in a way that was so effective because he was never actually really mean to anybody. And any of the clips that you see or that you read, they're out of context completely. And sometimes people do get emotional, but he was never a fucking Nazi. Like, to label him as a neo-Nazi is so stupid. And honestly, he was kind of moderate. So I think with him debating on college campuses, it was so impactful because these are stronghold cells where it's like 85% ideology on the left. And that's wild. It almost feels like there is some indoctrination in place because you look at these college professors, like some of these fucking college professors were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. These are people that shouldn't fucking have jobs and they should be doxxed. Not doxxed, but just sent away at the very least. They're not contributing at all to society. Is this who you're paying $40,000 a year for your kid to go to school, and that's who you want teaching your kid is somebody that's celebrating the death of somebody on social media in front of thousands of people, and they're screaming, "Yay, we just killed a Nazi"? It's fucking wrong. It's so wrong. And that's what these campuses were filled with as far as professors go. Now, the last thing I'll say about Charlie Kirk is I never really followed him. I didn't follow him on any platforms. He was never my kind of conservative influencer in any way. However, I will say from everything that I've read and the mission that he was on, he was serving his purpose for God 100%. He died speaking the word of God. And he's going to carry on a legacy for generations to come, because the sacrifice that was made will have reoccurring shockwaves of impact on everybody. And I think kind of carrying over to this next point, it's going to be very, very important for people not to celebrate an assassination like this, because then copycats appear, and then it becomes more attractive for somebody to do something extreme if they're going to get the attention for it. There's at least 1 million people in the US that are celebrating this. I could get 1 million people to say my name. It was the same thing with the Luigi guy who shot the United Healthcare CEO in New York. It's the same fucking thing. And there's a portion of this country that celebrates these things, that celebrates these assassinations. And these are sick people. They're sick fucking people. Nobody should ever celebrate anybody's death. The only way that anybody should celebrate somebody's death is in a way of mourning and appreciating their life and talking about the impact that they may have had on society. For you to call somebody a Nazi after they die is just fucking wrong. It's so wrong. So I want to get to something that has been a discussion in the media for quite a bit, certain parts of the media, so to speak. And it's about the Israel conspiracy theory of it having to do with Charlie Kirk's death. Now, there are different receipts and different tweets and different sound clips of Charlie Kirk being critical of Israel. Supposedly there was a meeting or some sort of fundraiser with Bill Ackman and Seth Dillon, that there was a tense meeting that Charlie Kirk left feeling uncomfortable. And by the way, something that's being forgotten in all these reports is Owen Schroyer did tweet a month prior that there was somebody in Charlie's circle that was fearful of his life, and it may have been Israel. So we are forgetting that detail right now, but let's go back to what we're talking about. So there was the fundraiser, and then there was the meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, who had offered Charlie Kirk an additional $150 million of an investment into Turning Point USA. And Turning Point USA is already on a budget of $140 million. So Israel technically is offering to double that budget. Now, there's no actual reports of this. This is purely speculation. Is that a reason for Israel to assassinate somebody? Another tie with the whole Israel thing is I did mention the name Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a Jewish Wall Street investor worth quite a bit of money. He's friends with Larry Fink of BlackRock. Bill Ackman was a Democrat up until January of 2024. Bill Ackman had funded many Democratic campaigns, a ton. And something changed in 2024, and Bill Ackman had begun funding and helping Turning Point USA. Now, I had mentioned that Bill Ackman had hosted that fundraiser. There was a meeting between Charlie and Bill Ackman and Seth Dillon, and the meeting got tense. Now, Seth Dillon has since released text messages that suggests nothing of that story is true. And it doesn't give complete reason for, Israel to assassinate him. I mean, even though Charlie Kirk may have had 1 or 2 clips of disagreeing with Israel, that doesn't mean anything. There's many more clips of him praising Israel. What he challenged was, I think, something that we all should be really challenging, is what's happening in Gaza right now. It's absolutely crazy. If you've seen pictures of Gaza, I think July of 2023. If you see like some of the street cams, you can find them online compared to what it is now. There's nothing fucking left of Gaza. There's nothing. It's completely wiped. Netanyahu calls this an ethnic cleansing. There are tanks right now roaming the streets of Gaza as we're all fighting about a conspiracy theory of somebody that was assassinated. Now, it is weird because at the same exact time the assassination happens, Netanyahu is busy bombing Qatar. Qatar, by the way, is the country that gave Trump the jet. Why would Trump okay Netanyahu bombing Qatar if Qatar gave Trump a jet and is also part of the Abraham Accords? How does that make sense? I believe that would suggest that Trump doesn't actually have as much power as he says he does. And there have been good and bad from him over the last few months. There's been a lot of really cringy things, but this is a very telling sign of maybe how much he doesn't have control of what's actually happening right now, which is so odd because Israel's way smaller than the U.S. We give Israel $4 billion a year every year in AIPAC, and we get nothing in return for that, just to protect the homeland, so to speak. So, having assembled some of those facts, I can understand why the conspiracy of Israel killing Charlie Kirk would make a lot of sense, because there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things on the side road that, if you put them together, they do make a little bit of sense, but I feel like everybody that's actually saying that just wants it to be true, and that's what's convincing them. And you can't want anything to be true when you're speculating on these things, because you then get so one-track minded on who did it or who didn't do it. And I find this whole entire thing actually incredibly fascinating. It's, as I had mentioned, the Martin Luther King assassination. Imagine if JFK had been assassinated during the time of social media. Holy fuck. If you want to talk about conspiracy theories, that one would be wild, especially in this time. So the other weird Israel tie, George Zinn. George Zinn's the patsy for the shooter. I shot him. The old guy gets arrested. And then he ends up getting arrested for obstruction of justice, because he falsely claimed that he was the one that was the shooter who allowed the other shooter to get away. And we'll touch on Robinson in just a second. But the interesting thing about George Zinn, on top of the obstruction of justice charge, is he also, I think yesterday or the day prior, got charged for having kiddie porn on his fucking computer. Straight out of the Anthony Weiner playbook, by the way. And then, on top of that, George Zinn was at 9/11. And there's videotape of him actually, talking about what happened at 9/11. It does completely reinforce the idea of crisis actors, does it not? So you had that, and then you had this event, and there was one other event. I think it was the Boston Marathon bombing, roughly about 10 years ago, that George Zinn was also at. So George Zinn, who's at these multiple tragedies and is a Jew, is taking the fall for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which was a wild play, by the way. What do you get out of it? I don't know. All right, so there's another tie, right? So all arrows point this way, and there's no doubt. It should be on the radar, but I don't think it should be the number one conviction of what it actually is. Bill Ackman then provided the reward. This is the one that I think looks most conspicuous. Bill Ackman's offering $1 million, plus the FBI did $100,000, and I think some other agency also put in $100,000 for somebody to turn in the shooter. Well, Bill Ackman, $1 million, right? To turn in the shooter. Who turns in the shooter? The father. What is the father? The father is a devout, traditional Mormon man, far right, supposedly, according to reports. The whole family is except for Robinson. And you have this, what I would call a gay son with a transvestite boyfriend. I can't imagine that dad really agreed with his lifestyle. There's no way. So, $1 million, I'll turn my son in. Was there some sort of coercion in the beginning with Bill Ackman and the father? And it seems like it would be impossible, like a 1 out of, right? But this is where things start to kind of tie together. You have Discord. There's tons of Discord messages. They're trying to reveal all the different Discord groups he's in. I've talked on the show about Telegram groups before as well. So I'll kind of describe the whole idea of Discord too. Discord, again, if anybody's never used it, you can assemble multiple groups of people that can all have a conversation. Sometimes people do it for group chats and conversations with their friends, right? Sometimes these social networks are used for something else rather than just actual communication between friends. There's a possibility out there that there are chat rooms that are being led out there that have the ideology of spreading evil around the world. And sometimes when you have people that are outcasts in life, like Robinson was, obviously was an outcast from his family. His dad fucking turned him in. By the way, that is an interesting conversation. Would you turn your son in or your daughter? I personally, I think ethically I would have to, and I wouldn't take the money for it either, because that would look wrong. That's where the difference is the father taking the money or not? That's where it looks odd, in my opinion, because that's kind of almost like insider knowledge. But then are you also with your son in this assassination? So then are you looked at as an accomplice? It makes it also complicated. I couldn't take the reward. It would look so bad. And it's not confirmed whether or not he is going to take the reward or not. So going back to the Discord groups, when you're able to target people who feel like they're left out of a community, they're going to want to do anything they can to be welcome into one. And if the idea of this community is to produce extreme acts in public for the glory that you're going to receive in the news, the trolling that you're going to be able to do, like, haha, that's so funny. They had to say whatever, the look at the bulge or whatever on Fox News. Like that was a trolling moment for this kid. That's evident. That right there is evidence of somebody that participates in those chat groups for hours on end right there, because that's the 4chan, that's the 4chan lingo right there, is I want to troll the fuck out of this guy. And I'm not completely shitting on 4chan, because I feel like 4chan's been kind of beneficial in some ways for our society, but there's a certain type of communication that people use when they're total trolls, and that usually fits the theme of these groups, because then you're memeing all day long. You make these memes all day long, all these sick fucking memes. These are people that make memes of children dying and painful, awful things. I used to know somebody who used to post shit on Facebook where he would make memes of somebody like breaking off their teeth and it's showing the root from the gums hanging off, and like sick fucking shit. And that's out there. And these are people that you can't debate with. Charlie Kirk tried to debate with these people, and you can't fucking debate with them. There's so much evil in that heart. There's no convincing them any other way. And I feel like this should really be a 90-10 issue across the board, because this isn't political in my eyes in any way, shape, or form. It can't be political. It's not political. This is purely evil shit. Like, these are evil fucking people. Now, they happen to identify with the left, but I'm not ready to completely crucify the left, because there have been a lot of people on the left that has said some really nice things as well. I mean, even Tim Walz had something nice to say. Tim Walz is a fucking dick. The other, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? He's like, oh, it must be so hard to be a Republican. You throw on your little red hat and you say something cruel to somebody. And it's like, you're such a fucking pussy. But even he had something somewhat nice to say. He didn't take the opportunity to just preach gun control right away like AOC did. Or, I'm trying to think of, I think Dean Withers even advocated for gun control right away. And it's like, shut the fuck up. It's completely irrelevant to what is actually happening right now as well. What you had, and we're going to get to this, you did have somebody that was trained to do this 100%. They were instructed. There's the report of the multiple cars that were at the house weeks before with different states' license plates. So this was definitely an inside job, and it was a one-shot bolt-action hunting rifle. You want to start controlling hunting rifles? This wasn't a situation where somebody spread on a school, although there was, of course, a school shooting the same day at a high school in Denver. So there's that as well. Going to the people that celebrated his death, that tried to compare this to George Floyd's death to justify it as not displaying any sympathy. And by the way, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't fucking say it. There's no reason for you to shout out your opinion when there's tons of people grieving. On top of that, his wife and his kids were there to fucking watch it happen right there live. His daughter ran to him live as it happened. You don't have any kind of sympathy for that family? None? Really? How? It's absolutely heartbreaking. And these people are fucking school teachers, piece of shit fucking school teachers. These are the people that you're trusting with your kids. These are the people that you're dropping your kids off with every single day, are the people that you're finding on libs of TikTok. And I think somebody made a database of already 20,000 names of people that celebrated the death. And you can say this is a way of tracking and monitoring. You can say that this is a way of suppressing free speech. But really what's happening here is this is just people saying fucking evil shit. And they need to be eradicated from society. And I don't mean violently. I mean, they need to be found, they need to be fired from their jobs, and they need to be deported from this country. Simple as that. This is evil stuff. This isn't an argument on policy. This is an argument over somebody's life who is going to a college campus to debate, to do the most American thing. And you have people celebrating it. It's absolutely terrible. It's sad. All right, we do need to go in the far left here, because it's fucking crazy on the far left. Trump had just made Antifa a terrorist organization, which, by the way, I thought that was already done years ago, but I guess it was all talk, as usual. Is Antifa behind it? Antifa's not that smart. Antifa is take over the city and have like 17 piercings in between your nose and have green and blue hair. And Antifa's, I don't know enough about Antifa to really speak on it, but Antifa doesn't do something as coordinated as this. Now, for sure, this does have to be some sort of inside job, whether it is some sort of NOG or NGO that's making these calls, or as I had mentioned, there are some money things involved with Ackman that are very strange, although they're not going to kill Charlie Kirk. Israel's just not going to do it. I don't see how they would do it. I do believe there's a better chance of the extreme left being guilty of this over it being Israel. And this is coming from somebody that blames Israel for almost everything. As I had spoke about earlier about the Qatar thing, the Qatar bombing, about the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. And by the way, when Trump was mentioning it's nice real estate over there, like, do you have any sympathy for these people? You have like 150 children a day that are dying from starvation right now. Didn't we send money over there, by the way? Why can't we bring food over there? There's enough food. I mean, look at all the trash food here in America that we waste. There's got to be something that can be done. And by the way, for anybody that also, and I don't like the little bitch, but when Greta Thunberg was trying to make her way over to Gaza a couple different times, just to most likely a publicity stunt, but who really knows? Like, let the girl go to fucking Gaza if she wants to go to Gaza. And, you know, you understand the dangers that you're encountering when you go there, but why can't there be any sort of relief brought to these people from the outside? These people aren't the ones that were attacked you in October of 2023. These are the wives and the kids of a lot of people that are just everyday working people. And you're starving them and killing them because there's a terrorist organization that might be hiding in some building. You know, I think when the U.S. invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, if I remember right, it was house by house operations. You would go down a block and you're going in every house and you're checking. And there was a lot of times when kids were used as shields and as suicide bombers, and soldiers lost their lives doing it, but they were doing the operation the way the operation should be done. Think about how many lives the U.S. actually did save. And we can talk about the whole Iraq and Afghanistan thing because that's bullshit too. Maybe that's a whole nother episode for another day, but the procedure of the American military to go in and try to eradicate the extremists instead of just blowing up the whole fucking family and starving them is a way different situation. And it should be a standard in military operations. The fact that it isn't a standard in a military operation, especially one that receives $4 billion every single year from the U.S., can't operate on the same level. Instead, we're just going to do airstrikes over and over and over again. Oh, and by the way, we'll take your $4 billion, but can you bomb Iran for us as well? Because we don't have bombs that go 400 feet deep. It's like there's so much heavy lifting going on by the U.S. with nothing in return. And Israel just dominates that part of the world. Like, what the fuck is going on? What is actually happening right now? It's wild. So let's move over to Jimmy Kimmel for a second. So Jimmy Kimmel's show was suspended today or yesterday, over the last couple of days. I forget exactly what day it was. So Jimmy Kimmel's show was suspended indefinitely. Also, his game show was suspended. And I don't feel one bit bad for him. When you go on a show where a million people watch every night and you call out a political group like that, it creates more extremism. It creates an uproar. And I get it. He's a comedian, but there's cancel culture and then there's accountability. There's a difference. Paula Abdul got canceled because she said nigger in, what was it? She said nigger in 1980 or 1970. Paula Abdul got canceled. You got Nick Fuentes, who can't even get on freaking YouTube because he says the N-word. You have multiple people. Alex Jones was banned from Twitter for over 10 years for what? For Sandy Hook. He even got sued for $1 billion for it. So this is really, I guess it's technically the second lefty that's gotten canceled since Trump's been in office. The first one was Colbert, but Colbert didn't get canceled. Colbert got fired because his show sucks. Kimmel got suspended because of the shit he said. So again, there's a difference. There's a big fucking difference between those two. It's definitely something that I find kind of funny. And, you know, I've seen the AI images of Jimmy Kimmel wearing McDonald's attire. They're hiring. Let's poke some fun at this guy a little bit because this guy's been a dick for years. Anyway, so that's my rant. I'm going to hang out for a little while. Might as well just kind of scroll on Twitter, see if there's anything else to talk about. Anything new. So you got Milo Yiannopoulos returns to campuses after Kirk's assassination. So this is also something I wanted to touch on. The fact that Ben Shapiro, 2 days or a day after Kirk died, makes this monologue of sympathy for Kirk and then finishes up by saying, I'm going to take the mic. It's my time now. Dude, have a grasp on the situation. It was so obvious what he was doing. And by the way, nobody wants to listen to him because he's a Jew. Like Charlie Kirk was spreading the word of Christ. And then Ben Shapiro is not going to spread the word of Christ. That was the whole idea of Charlie Kirk. When you look back at Charlie Kirk, it was reciting Bible verses and bringing people closer to God. And the beautiful thing about after Kirk died, the most beautiful part of it, the whole entire thing, is it seems like a lot of people have begun going back to Christ after this event. I've seen a lot of posts. I've seen a lot of people talking about trying to reconnect with the Lord. And that, when you think about it, I mean, that's Kirk reconnecting. That's Kirk connecting all of us through Christ in that sacrifice that he made. That was, when people go, it's God's plan. It's always God's plan when it's your time to go. And I think if you were to ask him, I think there was actually a clip of him being asked, how do you want to be remembered? He said, I want to be remembered by spreading the word. And what was he doing when he got killed? He's spreading the word. Now, something else to ask about the assassination is the question he was asked before he was shot was, something to do with mass shooting? And his answer was, or trans mass shootings. And of course he said yes. And then he got shot. It was the trigger word. Has that guy been investigated at all? Do we know the name of that guy? Do we have a picture of the guy that asked that question? Can we bring the clip back a little bit further so we can see that guy? I think that's kind of a key in this, because right after he answered the question, he got shot. And it's ironically has to do with trans. The guy who shoots him has a trans boyfriend. According to the Discord messages that I think look a little fake, he spreads hate against trans people. The question is, trans shooting, he gets shot. Have we questioned this guy yet? Have we found pictures of him? A blurry photo that AI can improve that looks nothing like the guy that actually shot Charlie Kirk. Something. Is there anything? I don't know. I haven't looked for it specifically. I actually just kind of had the thought. It's been brought up to me before, but there's been so many different details of this case, it gets kind of lost in the shuffle. Have we identified the guy that asked the trigger question? That's what I'm going to call it, is the trigger question, because it truly was a trigger question. Trigger question. Say that 10 times fast. It's a good question. Let's see here. If anyone wants to throw anything in the chat, go for it. Okay. Trump in England today. So England's making another investment in the U.S. supposedly. It's another really big deal. It's a deal that we've never seen the likes of before. It's the greatest deal ever. This deal that I administrated is the best deal for everybody, and everybody's happy. Watching Trump interact with people around the world is so funny to me. He acts so hard and so tough, and it seems like, from a perspective of third party watching him on TV or on the internet, is he does have a lot of things under control, but it doesn't seem like he really does, because I don't know if he really understands the people that he has hired around him and the people that are working in his administration. The first time that he had his administration, he had a bunch of people that ended up turning on him. They had a whole bunch of other ideas. He had to fire multiple roles throughout his first term. He said on the Rogan podcast, you have to assign, what is it, like 100 different people under each branch or something like that. It's extremely stressful. And for you to not at least get 40 or 50% of corrupt people is probably next to impossible. But this time around, he didn't assemble neocons into his administration. Instead, this is more of like a tech oligarchy that is focused on surveillance throughout the public. Is that where the money came from? if you think back to when he first got elected, when Doge was assembled, Doge, of course, run by Elon Musk, partnered with Vivek Ramaswamy, and then they used the engineers that they used to roll out Doge were the engineers that work for Palantir. If you're unfamiliar with Palantir, Palantir is a company that was funded by the CIA to monitor some sort of surveillance AI. It's extremely complicated. I don't know enough about it at this time to really talk about it, but Palantir is a company that is basically a shadow company of R.E.P. Charlie Kirk. I agree. Is a shadow company of the CIA. And if you look at the CEO of Palantir, it's Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel has a part in the administration as well. He also donated, and Trump decided to use Palantir for surveillance for everybody's social security cards, for everybody's banking information, tax information. Now, of course, America is trying to move into a digital age, and that's clear, most definitely. But what makes all of this so odd is a lot of these people were Democrats like a year ago. And if you look into the history of Peter Thiel, I'll get to your question in just a sec. If you look into the history of Peter Thiel is the one that brought J.D. Vance forward. J.D. Vance got an internship right out of college with Peter Thiel. J.D. Vance was then moved forward through Congress. Then after a rookie Congress term, he gets rookie senator after 2 years. By the way, criticizing Trump the whole entire way up until 2022. Peter Thiel's funding the campaign. J.D. Vance gets assigned as vice president. Something to think about and watch out for. Do I think it's deeper than we think about the shooting? Yeah, I do. I think it's about bad and good overall. And there's a spiritual element to this because Charlie Kirk essentially was killed preaching the word of God. What we witnessed was an extreme act that was carried out by somebody that was extreme and that thought extreme. So yes, I do think it was a lot deeper than that. And I don't think it's as simple as just to say that it's Israel. Oh, you were there, huh? That's wild. Or were you watching a live stream? Can you type in what you saw or what you remembered? How far back were you? In the back. What was when you heard the sound of the gunshot? Was it to the right or left of you, behind you? Do you remember? And I don't know if you were here for this part of the episode, but I was asking if anybody has seen the person who asked the question before the trigger was pulled. Do you remember at all? Have you seen any video of the person that asked the question? Do we know the name of that person? And I know the FBI is investigating these Discord groups. Obviously, there's coercion. The messages on Discord look so fake. Or on the text messages, whatever it was. And by the way, again, the far left, romanticizing the text messages between the shooter and the boyfriend. Like, oh, he did it for him. It was an act of courageousness and love. And it's like, no, it was an act of fucking evil is what it was. There's a delusion that lives within these people that just believe, if I don't agree with you, I'm just going to kill you. And it's the wrong mentality. It's the wrong idea to have about society. There's no reason for you to have to kill somebody else. And it creates so much more animosity between the left and the right. Maybe that's the deeper meaning that we're really looking for. Let's see. Don't know the name, but it was about the shootings. The last thing Charlie said, we Yes. Yes. That's what I remember as well. But it is interesting that nobody has really dug into who asked the question. Was it a timing thing? Could have been. But the FBI did disclose that they are going to be searching the chats to go a little bit further. I think they said there's at least 20 people that they are investigating. This definitely wasn't a solo act. I wonder, in what else is odd about all of this bullshit, just like the Thomas Crooks thing in Butler, Pennsylvania, is this kid doesn't have a Twitter. He doesn't have a Facebook. He doesn't have an Instagram. He just has Discord. When when they went to Thomas Crook's apartment, he didn't even have fucking silverware in the drawer. They wiped his entire apartment clean. And then when they pinged his phone, it was constant visits back and forth from his home to the FBI buildings. That was the pings when they tracked the phone. Have we tracked Robinson's phone at all? I know we can. I know it's possible. It seems like it should be easy, but is it? I don't know. I think what we're learning about this new wave of information is we can get a lot more news and information out of local podcasters and influencers than the mainstream media or even the FBI that goes up and gives their bullshit answers. I was excited about the whole Kash Patel assignment, and I've been so let down by this in so many different ways, going from the Epstein files to, and by the way, the Epstein files, that was voted on the day that Charlie Kirk was killed. Wow. That's absolutely crazy. I got to show that. That's wild. How many times have you gone to see Charlie Kirk in your lifetime? Was that the first ever time? I'll let you answer for that. Wait for that. So going back to this new wave of once. Okay. Very cool. This new wave of information is, okay, Kash Patel. That's where we're at. Kash Patel. I got off track. Did you? What do you want to debate him about? Let's hear it. Do you want to run it past me? Should I try? Just for fun? In honor of Charlie? Israel, okay. Shit, if you want, I'll give you my my StreamYards lab and we can talk about it. I got no problem doing that if you want to. Or we can do it some other time. It doesn't have to be right now. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram if you want to reach out to me personally. I would love to do that. All right, so Kash Patel, what a letdown. Kash Patel, the Epstein files, there's plenty of clips. There's plenty of clips that Kash Patel wanted the Epstein files out, wanted them out, thinking that I think he had mentioned he's seen part of them, and there's a lot. He was waking up at the end, but there was also a lot of tweets that contradicted those things. It is ironic. The timing is unquestionably ironic. It really is, because he was starting to say some things here and there. And I had already mentioned the whole Gaza thing. And that was the thing that he was really condemning, was the whole ethnic cleansing, for sure. But it doesn't make enough sense to me that Israel did it. There's a lot of really interesting things. There's a lot of Jews involved, like usual, but it is, the timing is weird. I get what you're saying. I understand. You just wanted to kind of hear what he had to say more about it. So when Kash Patel made his speech at the podium, "I'll see you in Valhalla," that's not a Christian thing to say to somebody that was Christian that died. Like, "I'll see you in Valhalla." Like, what kind of shit is that? Does that represent something deeper? I guess I haven't looked it up, but it just seems so, I don't know. Wrong. Hindu. Okay. Isn't Valhalla a Viking thing? Am I wrong? But regardless, don't like it. That's a Christian man, Christian family, and Kash Patel. Some of the FBI, what was he? He was eating spaghetti while tweeting about the search. It's been super disappointing. There's been so many really disappointing things. The entire administration has actually been really disappointing for the most part. Pam Bondi is just a sad sack. The whole bring the influencers to the White House with the Epstein binders, and there was nothing inside the Epstein binders, really. It's nothing that we already didn't know. I have the files on my desk, and then she says, oh, we don't have the files. And then the left comes out and says, oh, release the files. It's like, well, you didn't want to release it either. And it goes back to a bigger point. And it always goes back to this conversation, but, you know, it is theorized that Epstein was agent of Mossad. And there's some control there. And I'm not saying that Trump is the one that is guilty in the files. He's probably named in the files because these are rich billionaires that travel in these circles. And these are guys that do go to the same parties with each other. So sure, he's probably named in it, but I'm not convinced that he offended in any way, shape, or form. I'm more concerned. This is where my concern stems. I'm more concerned that Trump is so tied with Israel that if the U.S. public had found out that Israel was behind the Epstein thing, all support for Israel would be completely lost. There's a section of the left that already says free Palestine. And if MAGA then found out that Israel was behind it, now you have more than probably 75% of people now no longer supporting Israel. And then why are we giving them $4 billion a year if none of us want to support Israel? That's our money. I think that's a more likely scenario than Trump going to the island and banging a little kid. You know, when you see a guy that likes like young girls, like Clinton, for instance, Trump likes younger women, but it was never like that. There's a certain, you know, one when you see one. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I get it. You know, people want to say that he's trash because he grabs him by the pussy and some shit, but he's just a dude talking. He talks a lot of fucking shit. That's what we all do. We all talk shit. And especially when we think we're in a private setting, sometimes we say shit that, you know, if it was heard out loud, we'd be canceled, right? Anyway, I like Trump in some ways also. I'm happy about crypto. I'm happy about the pressure that was put on the Fed to cut the rates. Crypto has gone crazy this year. The mass deportations haven't really been carried out as much. Yeah, Kamala Harris would have been a terrible option. I could never vote for Kamala. She was installed and she wasn't even actually selected. They ran RFK out of the Democratic Party because he was such a threat to Joe Biden, even when Joe Biden said he was going to be running again. And then when Joe Biden, after the time passed and Joe Biden says he's not going to run again, they're like, oh, we'll just install Kamala Harris. We'll just give her the grant. That she didn't even have to earn it in any sort of debate with other of her colleagues. Nobody else got a chance. Bernie Sanders has been the star of this party for the last 10 years, and he didn't even get a chance. The whole idea of Kamala Harris being president was a reality that I could just never envision. It was obvious. In the way that she was installed, it was completely wrong. And I feel that it's getting kind of similar to that with Vance as well. I'm really hoping that we have some sort of primary for the Republican Party, because I don't believe Vance is the guy. I don't know how I'm going to vote this next election. I'm not going to vote for Gavin Newsom. There's no fucking way. Look at California, what a mess that place is. But I also don't know if I'm going to vote for JD Vance either. I'm in this conundrum right now. And to be perfectly honest, I was going to vote for RFK had he run for the Democrats. I was going to vote for RFK when he was independent. And I voted for Trump because RFK went to Trump's administration, offered to be health and services. And that's essentially what I wanted. There has to be some freedom with vaccines. The whole mandate idea is so extreme. People should have a choice. People should have a choice for their children when it comes to vaccines. There's no reason why we should all be forced to do it. That was the first thing. The second thing was the food in America is poisoning us. The red dye 40, the yellow 5, the corn syrup. Like if you look around in America, everybody's fucking fat. Everybody's fat. It's especially in Minnesota. I think because it's cold for 3/4 of the year. You look around, you see the women around here. They're all fucking heavy. All of them. There's not very many attractive women in Minnesota, and it's evident that their diet is a huge contribution to that. It's disgusting. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. It's just the truth. So I was hoping, instead of having a transvestite fat slob who runs HHS and having maybe somebody that takes care of their bodies and knows how to eat healthy and could maybe spread the word of exercise and fitness and getting America healthy again. That sounds great. That sounds amazing. And that's what I want. I want America to be healthy because we're eating ourselves to death in this country right now. It's like rats inside of a cage, and let's say you block up like a pyramid of cheese. They're going to just eat it all day long. And if it's unlimited, they're all going to get fat and they're going to die because they overate. Everything in American food is so addicting, and the colors make it look so appealing, especially like Fruit Loops, like sugar. It's sugar and grain and enriched flour. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going to vote. I don't know who I'm going to vote for. I'm still holding on with Trump. There's some things that Trump has done that I liked. There's some things that he's done that I don't like. And I think that's also the difference between the right and the left, by the way. The right has been critical of Trump throughout these 8 months. There's been good things that he's done and he's gotten rewarded for it, but there's also been some big misses. And this side of the aisle tries to hold him accountable as much as possible. The fact that he blew off the Epstein files initially, and then the questions kept coming. Conservative influencers kept talking about it. Then all of a sudden, okay, well, maybe we'll do a little bit more. Eventually it did pass in Congress. But of course, the day Charlie Kirk got shot, the Senate knocked it down 51-49. Well, I should look up the Republicans that voted no on that Epstein release file. That'd be interesting. Since I got you live, let's see. Let's look it up. Senators voted against. And this wasn't even front page news. It hasn't even been talked about in any of the news. It's only been memes. All right, let's see here. Yeah, 51-49. And then, by the way, was it Republicans that said no? It must have been. It must have been all Republicans. I don't know. Let's see. Unless, yeah, I don't like Mike Johnson either. It's kind of a weasel. Senate Republicans defeat Chuck Schumer, push to force. Oh, when did this come out? September 10th. NBC News reports Senate Republicans defeat Chuck Schumer and push to force the release of the Epstein files. So they are getting released. Let me see. Kash Patel 1 day ago. Court orders bar him from releasing the Epstein files. Here, let's share my screen for a sec. Yeah, he is Israel first. Let's see. Can I? Whoop, my bad. I think this is it, right? Share. And do this. Share screen. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Make sure I can add that to the stage. Perfect. All right. There we go. Okay, this is reported by Politico. FBI Director Kash Patel claimed Wednesday that he has barred recent court orders from releasing thousands of documents connected to the disgraced trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. By the way, one other question. Where did Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mice go with all those victims? What happened to that? The victims were out there and they said they were going to release everything, or Marjorie Taylor Greene was in a setting that was legal to release the names. What happened to that? Haven't heard anything about that either. All right, so FBI Kash Patel claimed Wednesday that he is barred from recent court orders from releasing thousands of documents connected to the disgraced sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity, Patel said during the second day of congressional oversight hearings. Raskin challenged him on why he hadn't released more of the files. Patel appears to be mischaracterizing those most recent orders, which came amid hurried effort by the Trump administration to ask federal judges for permission to release the grand jury material stemming from the case of the Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. Whoops, my bad. Shit. Oh, Ilhan Omar. I got to talk about that too. Holy fuck. In fact, one of the judges who ruled on the grand jury matter, who presided over Epstein's criminal case before he died by suicide, Trump administration had the power to release the records. And that's the other key. Both sides have had the opportunity. I guess what we have here is just more of the same bullshit. We're going to continue to talk about it. We're going to continue to talk about things, but nothing's going to happen. And that's essentially what's happening right now. Again, Ilhan Omar. Holy shit. So I think she said the other day, she said before that Somalia is a better country because she's from that country. And then today she said, or yesterday, she said something like, I just want to go back to my country, or I don't want to misquote her. Let's see. I think I have it here. I'll just share the screen for it. All right, let's do this. Okay. My bad. There we go. Okay. Fuck Sharia law. I like you. All right. Here we go. Let's see if we can find. Let's see what Trump had to say about her. Where'd it go? There we go. It's very important that Ilhan Omar is Somalian, that she is the government for us. Well, there you go. Go to Somalia. All right. It's just sick. What fucking mud hole did that woman crawl out of? What part of the compound of Somalia did that fucking woman crawl out of? And then she married her brother to get here. Like, everybody forgets about that too. Marry your brother to get into the US. I hope that it was only procedural and nothing more, but I'm sure it wasn't. And then, I live in this state, so I happen to, be very close to Ilhan Omar. I'm a county away from her being on my ballot. That's how close I am to Ilhan Omar. And I can tell you from this perspective of being 15 minutes north of Minneapolis that the place is a fucking disaster in a lot of ways. There's some good parts of it, but you don't feel safe. You look down the street and you see a group of black people, and it's like, you don't feel safe. You don't think to yourself, you're in any better place when you see it. And the overrun of Somalis in this state is fucking crazy. And the apartments that they live in, that we've shacked them all up into, by the way, there's no windows, there's no balconies, and the places just stink. The whole fucking state stinks. It sucks. It sucks in a lot of ways. And it would be great if she could get expelled, impeached, whatever it takes, because it's bad. Let's see what else we got. I got about another 10 minutes here, so let's see. All right. Steak and Shake erect billboard targeting Mike McDaniel, Monroe, Roar. ABC suspense Jimmy Kimmel. Let's see if we see any video on this. I can't believe Disney was the one to do it. Oh, look at that, Keith Olbermann. Burn in Hell Sinclair alongside Charlie Kirk. That's nice. These are the people I'm talking about. Yeah, let's see here. How long is that? Okay, let's hear that.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'll get to AI in a moment, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity to ask my colleagues, the proponents of free speech across the aisle and the champions who sit with me, to condemn in the harshest terms what is happening right now from our administration.
What is he wearing? Why does he have a hat on?
Late night comedian has been taken off the air because the president did not like a joke.
Colbert was not taken off the air because the president didn't like a joke. Colbert was taken off the air because he sucks. Let's be clear.
I want to first condemn in the harshest tones the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, good for you.
He should be with his family right now.
That's good.
He should be with his children.
All right, credit.
He should be alive. He had a right to say what he wanted to say, who he wanted to say, without any physical violence being brought his way. And Jimmy Kimmel had a right to say what he said, which didn't in any way suggest that somebody in the MAGA world had been responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. He was just pointing out what folks online were doing as Twitter detectives before any investigation had been completed, were saying about the assassination.
Is that actually what he said? I don't think that's what he said. He said that he's talking about the people who online. That's not what he said. Let's see. Let's see if we can find what he actually said. So I don't think that's what he said. Pretty sure. There it is. This must be it. I bet this is it.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is. Now Tucker can spend more time at home tanning his testicles and touching himself to that sexy green M&M. Sadly, he's probably not done poisoning old people's brains. The question now is, where will he do it next? Will he go to OAN? Will he go to Newsmax? Will he crawl back up Satan's fiery beehole from whence he came? We don't know. One of the most despicable mother tuckers ever to appear on American television. Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker.
What goes around comes around. That's all I got to say. That is fucking wild. Don't take a victory lap when someone else that you don't like gets shitted on. Because that clip is going to go viral. And I think it's only appropriate that we have somebody do a monologue for Jimmy Kimmel. Somebody has some notoriety. Maybe Tucker Carlson could do a monologue for Jimmy Kimmel. That would be kind of fun to watch. Anyway, I've bent your ear long enough. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm going to try to get on tomorrow. We'll see you soon.